I almost bought an e-bike, otherwise known as an electric bike. I got really close, really close. I'll give you the whole story. Those of you who have known me for a while, either through my blog on my website or through these vlogs, you know that about a year or two ago, I bought my neighbor's Cervelo street racing bike. Beautiful bike, like a $5,000 bike. He needed cash to get his motorcycle out of the shop. He had had some work done, and he added a few things, and that raised the price, and he was $600 short. So he sold me his $5,000 Cervelo for $600. Beautiful bike. Okay. I tried riding it. I've tried several times. I didn't like being hunched over the handlebars so far, and it was just... I'm 66 years old. It's just not the kind of bike for someone my age. Young 20-year-olds, teenagers who weigh 120 pounds. It's more for them. Anyways, he's been trying to buy it back. And to be fair, he would like to get it back at the same price I paid for it, $600. That's fair. The bike was barely used, so it wasn't like it was worn out or anything. But I told him, if I'm going to lose money in the deal, let me at least enjoy having the bike for a while. And by lose money, I meant that I had to spend $200 on shoes to ride the thing, because the shoes he had wouldn't fit me. My feet are a little bit larger, and the shoes are expensive, $200. Okay, granted, I bought them at the most expensive bike shop in town. I could have probably found them for $150, for rather $50 less. But that's what I spent. Because they have the cleats in the bottom that you lock into the pedals for riding. It's not just a regular flat pedal that you use street shoes with. It's racing pedals. And I could have replaced the pedals and had just regular pedals. But anyways, then I saw in an AARP bulletin this article about a guy wrote about the joy he has riding his e-bicycle, his electric bicycle. And I thought, that sounds like fun. I'd like to have one of those. Or maybe I can convert my old bike, my Raleigh, to an e-bike. Well, my neighbor came across the street just this past weekend, and he said, I'll give you $800 for that bike. I mean, he really wanted it back. That way, Dennis, you can break even. And at that point, because I wasn't riding it, I said, all right, at least I won't lose any money. And it's a better deal for him. He actually made out because he basically recovered and has back in his possession a $5,000 Cervelo. So he lost $200 in the process, but he's got a nice bike, and he really enjoys riding it. He's healthier, stronger than I. He's a tree climbing guy, so he's healthier than I am. Although he probably weighs as much, but his is all muscle. Anyways, I got to thinking, okay, I have this $800. He gave me cash for it. What if I were to spend that money and convert my old Raleigh into an e-bike? You can buy the kits. They're available on Amazon. So I started looking around on Amazon. A wheel, say, with a 500-watt motor in the back, and the controller that you attach to the bike, it's up on the handlebars. You have to replace your grips on the handlebars with new grips because it has the throttle on it. $250, $300 for a decent wheel, 26-inch wheel. Okay. Then you got to buy the battery. You can get the lead-acid batteries like you have in your car, but they add a lot of weight and they're bulky. The way to go was lithium ion, but they're like $450, $550, $600 for the battery. Okay, I'm up around what I got for the Cervelo, $800 maybe. Let's try it. Let's go for it. But before I do anything, research it. I always do my research. You got to do your research. Just like when I'm doing cooking videos, I always do my research. So I got onto YouTube and I started looking at what it takes to convert a bicycle to an e-bike. And there's a lot of videos out there, people who have done it. It's not that difficult. But one thing that I learned is you don't want the standard V brakes that you have on your bicycle that grip the rim front and back, because at the higher speed that the bike's going to be going at, up to 20 miles per hour, and with the added weight of a motor on the rear wheel, the batteries and so forth, you need disc brakes. Okay, disc brakes. What's that going to cost me? Another few $100s, because you don't get just the discs that go front and back and the calipers that squeeze them. You have to run all new cables, especially if you get a hydraulic system. Now you're running tubes, because the cables you have only go as far as just above your wheel where the old grip, the V brakes were. Now you got to go down to where the axle is, because that's where the caliper is that grips the disc rotors. Okay. But then you got to get a new wheel, front wheel, because the front wheel I have doesn't have the holes, threaded holes, where you attach the disc rotor to. So I got to get a new wheel. It all started to add up, and I thought, what am I going to have left from my original old bike? I'm going to have the frame. I'm going to have the seat. I'm going to have the handlebar, just the pipe. All new stuff going on to that, and the pedals. If I'm going to replace pretty near everything, why not replace everything? And I first thought about, maybe I could get a bike that already has disc brakes on it. Then all I have to do is just add the motor, the battery, the controller. I'm done. They're expensive. They're expensive. And how do I know that that the disc that's on the rear wheel, that rotor, how do I know that's going to be the right shape and size and configuration to go onto the new rear wheel with the motor in it? Okay, so what would it take to buy an entirely complete e-bike? Everything's already assembled, ready to go. All I got to do is put the front wheel on and attach the handlebar. How difficult is that? And then charge it up and go for a ride. So I went on Amazon, and I looked around on Amazon to see what they had for e-bikes. Nearly all the bikes are sold through Amazon. It's a separate dealer who is selling through Amazon. The dealer sells it, the dealer ships it. Amazon doesn't even do the fulfillment. They're just providing the ordering space, for which they get a small cut, I'm sure. Okay. I ended up eliminating all the possibilities of that, so I just got what is available that is stocked and sold by Amazon, and I think there were 5, maybe 7 bikes. All the bikes were done through outside vendors, dealers. But I found one that I thought it could work. It could work. And here's the issue when I say it could work. It needs to be the right configuration of frame and wheels. I live in a college town, and it's an expensive college town. A lot of rich kids come here, and you know by the cars that they drive around town. The student cars drive through campus, and you might see a Lamborghini. You're going to see at least one Ferrari. One term, I shouldn't say term, it was until he graduated, he or she had a Hummer. There was a Hummer. A student had a Hummer on campus. You don't want to have a Beamer. A lot of students have Beamers, but if you have a Beamer, that means you're kind of upper middle class. Everybody drives a Beamer. Beamers are passé. You got to get a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or a Maserati. Then you know that your parent isn't just a doctor or a lawyer or a psychiatrist. That means your dad is the CEO of some major U.S. conglomerate, right? Anyways, you see some very expensive cars out there. Well, they come in during the fall. They buy their bikes because it's a biking campus. Everybody bikes. I think there's 25,000 students out there, and they estimate there are 22,000 bicycles. Everybody bikes. It's a biking campus. There's a student community right next door where pretty near all the students live, and they just bike back and forth. Okay. Well, you can tell who the freshmen are because they go out and they buy their bike. The beautiful bike could be a Specialized or a Trek or something, a beautiful bike. And what they do is they lock the front wheel to a bike rack when they're not using it. And then they come back the following morning to use their bike. The front wheel is still there, but everything else is gone because it's a quick release. You just snap the quick release and run away with the bike. And it happens all the time. Not every day, but there are people who come into this community just to steal bikes. They'll drive up from LA or even San Diego just to stock up on bikes that they can take back home and sell in LA or San Diego, whatever. Maybe even San Francisco, I don't know. Anyways, you see a lot of these lone wheels, just front wheels attached to bike racks. Well, if you got everything but the front wheel, what do you need? You need a front wheel. So front wheels are a hot item to steal around here. Someone locks their bike up, but they have a quick release front wheel. Someone who needs a front wheel is just going to flip that, grab the wheel and go, run. Now they have everything they need to assemble a bike, take it to some place like Los Angeles and sell it. So you got to have a setup where you can lock up everything, even the seat if that's needed, because sometimes they'll even steal your seat if it's a quick release. Got a plane going overhead. Wait for that to go by. I live near the airport. So what I have is I have 2 U-locks, and the police recommend that, 2 U-locks. You lock your frame to something stationary like a bike rack, and if you can go through the frame and the rear wheel, so that's locked in place, that's okay. You use your second lock to lock your front wheel to your frame. Then they can't steal any of it. And if you have one of those bike racks where you can only get the front wheel in, you can lock the front wheel to the bike rack, but then you use your second lock to lock the front wheel to the frame. So it's kind of like chaining it all together. And again, nothing gets stolen. I've been doing that for years. Nothing gets stolen. They've tried stealing my bikes. Actually, 2 bikes they tried stealing, but they didn't get those 2. Someone stopped them in the meantime. My very first bike, they did steal that one. I don't know how they got it because it was locked up, but it was a brand new Peugeot. Beautiful white Peugeot. I loved that bike. Brand new. After that, I kept my bike inside, and I still keep my bike inside. My Raleigh. I have a Raleigh that I wanted to convert over to an e-bike until I started looking into it. But that's the story with bikes. So in looking for an e-bike, I wanted a bike where the frame was configured such that I could lock the frame and the rear wheel to something and lock the front wheel to the frame. Some of the frames, that down tube, the front down tube, is so far away from the front wheel that unless I get a chain or a cable, I'm not going to be able to lock up the front wheel. It's just more to carry on the bike, more weight. So anyways, I got onto Amazon and I found a bike that looked like it could work. $1,900. The price seemed good enough. I could justify that. I could give me 24 hours, I can rationalize almost anything. Anyways, I ordered it. Following day, I got an email from Amazon saying the order was canceled, your credit card was never charged, blah, 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 because the bike is out of stock. And again, it was from one of those vendors. Turns out to be a vendor in Florida. So I contacted the vendor and I said, I ordered this bike, it was canceled. When do you think you'll have it in stock so I'll know when to order it again? I got one message back the following day saying, here's my name, here's my phone number, call me directly and ask for me. I will make sure you get the bike that you want. Well, I didn't call yet. I thought, well, let me think about this for a while. And then I got another message from someone else who seemed to be higher up. The first person seemed like a salesman, was maybe trying to get his commission. Higher up, it was like more like a store manager. And he said, that particular model we haven't been able to build in several months. Yeah. Several months. Is that like marketing? That's the other thing. Is speaking of marketing, the first guy said, we can sell you that bike for the same, we'll match Amazon's price. Well, I went onto their website to see what their bikes were. They are the same price. They're the same price whether you buy it from them or buy it on Amazon, and both are free shipping. So then they weren't cutting me any deals. So then the other guy says he hasn't been able to have this bike in stock for months. So I'm thinking, okay, what is this? Is this bait and switch? They give you a pretty good deal on a nice looking bike that could be exactly what I want, but it's not available. And in looking through their website at all the bikes that are available, none of them have the configuration that I found ideal for what I wanted. So we went back and forth, back and forth. Oh, we can build you a bike that'll give you everything you absolutely want. But I'm thinking, I want to see the bike. Whether it's a photograph on a website or Amazon, or whether I walk into a bike shop. I want to see the bike. I don't want them to just tell me, we'll build you what you want. Order it, pay for it. When you arrive, you'll be happy with it. How do I know that? So I ended up not getting my e-bike. As far as my old Raleigh, I cleaned it up because it had been out in the shed. I had the Cervelo inside where I normally kept the Raleigh. The Raleigh was out in the shed. I cleaned it up, dusted it up, washed it down a little bit where it had gotten kind of dirty just sitting out there, inflated the tires. Why not just use that? It's my shopping bike. It has baskets on it. It's an old bike. I've kept it repaired. I've kept it clean. Take the chain off once in a while and put it in a large jar with mineral spirits and just let it sit and soak and agitate it once in a while to get all the gunk off of it. It's a decently maintained bike. The Cervelo is back across the street at my neighbor's house. The Raleigh is back inside again. I think I'm like 99.9% sure that I'm probably never going to get an e-bike. It's too much of a hassle. I'll go look at them. There's a store down in the city. I might go look at them, and maybe they can talk me into one if it's the configuration I think I can be happy with. The problem is it's a very expensive city down there. Everything is high rent. So I'm going to pay a premium for that bike if I buy it down in the city. It might be fun to go look one time, but otherwise, I think I'm content to live unlike this guy. Just live without an e-bike. I'll be okay.